You're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio, featuring the Interactive Interview, courtesy of WrestlingEpicenter.com. Welcome back to Interactive Wrestling Radio. Joining us on the Newsmaker line right now is a singer, an actor, and a professional wrestler who is going to be wrestling at the NWA 75 mega event. I am speaking of Thrillbilly Silas Mason. Are you with me, sir?
Baby, I'm with you, and after we're done with 75, baby, I'll tell you, they think some Archduke getting shot in Serbia was going to seem like a footnote in history compared to what I'm going to do.
Absolutely, and you got a big match coming up here. It's going to be against Odinson and one of our more recent guests, J.R. Kratos. You guys will be having a three-way match. What is your thoughts heading into the big violent encounter that should be happening at NWA 75?
I think that if you literally got us on a scale, you take us down to the dump, right? Go down to the landfill, put all three of us on the scale. That's quite literally, the biggest match just in terms of weight, let alone height, that you could be putting on at the NWA. And, I know about Kratos and old Odinson. We've tussled a time or two before in the past, and, I think my win record speaks for itself in those encounters. So you're looking at the next national champion.
It looks like it's going to be a great encounter. Looking forward to it. Going back to the beginning, and I'm sure you get tired of being asked this, but it's what people want to hear. What made you fall in love with our crazy wrestling industry to begin with?
I tell people this all the time. I was a little kid and I saw Ultimo Dragon and La Parka wrestling on WCW. And so I was like, these are like two action figures come to life, man. And I wanted to be an action figure.
There you go. That's awesome. And you're a guy who I introduced as a singer and an actor. We'll get to the acting in just a moment. But you were a singer in a rock band, and that seems to fit because you're one of the biggest personalities in the whole NWA. What kind of music did you make?
I was a front man in a punk band. That's different than a singer in a rock band. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't necessarily too good at the singing part, but it was like I said, more kind of like punk music, and it was called Lead Knuckle. What was
that? Lead Knuckle was the name of the band. That's a cool name. There you go. All right, so
the problem is unless you spell like Led Zeppelin, everyone calls it Lead Knuckle.
Oh,
so that's always the issue. I understand why they did the Led Zeppelin thing now.
So they called you Lead Knuckles. Okay.
Everyone did, yeah. It was messed up.
There you go. And I also introduced you as an actor, and that, of course, is going to come to pass this fall in theaters. You're going to be playing a guy that, when you hear the name, everybody looks at your picture and goes, they cast that guy right.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to be playing Terry Bam Bam Gordy in the Iron Claw. How did that come about, and what was the experience like?
Literally just got a call out of nowhere. Luke Hawx, who used to work for us at NWA, he'd done heels and everything like that. So he was like, We're looking for Terry Bam Bam Gordy. They shaved my face, shaved my chest, and the rest is history. It was an amazing experience, though. I've been ripping the guy off since I started wrestling. So it was really easy for me personally.
Absolutely. And like I said, cosmetically, even before you were playing him, you could look at you and say, well, that guy kind of does look like he might be somehow related to Terry Bam Bam Gordy. So that makes a whole lot of sense.
Everyone always said I look like Gordy and I talk like Hayes.
Yeah, that's true. And you mentioned the name in another interview. I did my research. At least I tried to, leading into this one. And I spoke to this guy a lot of times. His name is James Beard. How much of an involvement did James Beard have in kind of helping you become Bam Bam? Love
James, dude. It's one of those things, like I said, I never got to meet Terry or anything like that, and I'm a little bit, younger than James is. It was just by hair. Mm-hmm. And but he got to be there live and in person and see it, and because he was a referee for that. So every time we were on set or anything, he would just be like, "Hey man," he's like, "I think Bam Bam would do this." He's like, "This is what," because it was kind of free flowing when we were doing the wrestling thing on set, so we were kind of allowed to, fill that character out, fill that role out. So James is instrumental in that, man. I can't say enough good things about that guy.
Absolutely. And another thing you mentioned in an interview that I kind of wanted to ask you about was you're a little young to be the huge fan of Terry Funk that you are. And of course, I'm a big fan of Terry Funk. Terry Funk used to call me Arizona James when when I used to bug him for interviews all the time. And one of the nicest guys in the world. But what made you fall in love with Terry Funk as a worker, and to be so young and have such a guy that was around pretty much before your time?
I was about to say, if this is a video call, you could see literally hanging above my bed is a picture of Terry Funk. And I got a little Terry Funk action figure, too, that my mom got me for Christmas one year. Man, I can't exactly tell you, because the very first time I saw him was Chainsaw Charlie, which ain't Terry Funk. But, I mean, it's, basically like Terry Funk. But I used to be I didn't have the internet until I got to college, right? And so when I got into college, I started going on these chat boards and looking at like some old school wrestling. That's kind of where I found my old school wrestling stuff. And literally, I looked at Terry Funk and I said, "This is exactly what a pro wrestler should be." And so I went back and started like studying all of his tapes, doing the all of his stuff in Memphis with Lawler, his Japan stuff. I'm not like the death match thing. Like, I'm not a huge fan of death matches, but him and Foley were two of my favorite wrestlers. And that's another thing too, is Mick Foley is always putting over Terry Funk in his books and stuff like that. So I was like, well, when I was a kid, Mick Foley was my favorite wrestler, him and The Rock. So I was like, well, if Mick Foley's putting him over all the time, I got to check this dude out.
Yeah, absolutely. And such a great guy too. I mean, one of the nicest people you'll ever meet.
Oh, I met him one time in a TGI Fridays in Las Vegas.
TGI Fridays of all places to me.
Oh, man. It was a Cauliflower Alley Club, and I was hammered drunk. And I remember my friends that I was with was like, "That's Terry Funk, man. Be cool." I was like, "Fuck that." And I just went up and I said, "Sir, it's a goddamn honor to meet you." And I shook his hand. And him and his wife were sitting there. He's like, "Oh, look at you, young man. I'll tell you, I see a bright future for you in this business, but we're old. We gotta hit the hay. Oh, you son of a bitch!" And this old referee guy comes up and starts talking to Terry. And they just start talking about the old days. And man, seeing the guy go from such a middle-aged and crazy, that's what he always said, going from that guy to just like the nicest old dude with his little lovely wife. Like, it was great, man.
All right, I agree. And, we're talking a lot about the prior generations, and you kind of, in a way, seem like a throwback to those guys because you are such a huge persona. And it seems like a lot of wrestlers, maybe you'd swing it back the other way again a little bit if you're watching TV lately, but a lot of wrestlers for a long time were kind of calm and just regular people, and now we're going back over the top again. Is that something that you think is necessary, that we've missed in wrestling, and we're looking towards seeing the larger-than-life characters kind of make a comeback in pro wrestling?
There's a period of time in wrestling, and I don't know what it was, but where the characters left. Because here's the thing. If you look at I got an NWA poster live from Horn in Knoxville, and I can sit there and say, because I've known these people, like as people, they're all crazy. They're all nut jobs, and I'm on the poster too, so I'm part of that group. I'm lumping myself in with it. If you're getting into this business where you're spending so many days away from your family, you go and you put on underwear and you fight in a ring in front of a bunch of strangers, and you got to have something wrong with you if you're doing that. And especially like I'm looking right now, Mecca. Old Mecha Wolf and Bestia, say. Man, they literally just dress up like demons and go out there. And, like, it's who they are, man. It's one of those things that's like, that's really you when you're in the ring. So I think that getting to the point where people got bigger personalities, it's become to where AEW and WWE took up so many people and took up so many athletes and took up so many people that weren't in the business originally, or maybe with AEW's case, just a bunch of little trampoline cowboys or whatever. Now it's time for the real motherfuckers to show back up.
Very cool. I've heard you use a couple of Cornette lines. I heard you call him Kenny Olivier before, and I heard you the Trampoline Cowboys as well. Are you a fan of Jim Cornette?
Oh, I love Jim Cornette, man. Smartest guy in the business, dude. Like he really is. Like whenever I listen to his podcast and stuff, it's not just for entertainment. It's also for education.
Absolutely. That's the difference. I think it's a combination of both. You're enjoying yourself. And speaking of big characters, by the way, let's talk a little bit about your manager, Paulo Del Mar. I mean, we're talking about somebody who could not be a bigger character. How do you enjoy having them at your side?
Right now, she's been a big problem. These last couple of times, whenever I've been in a national title match, here's the problem. You know, she's a big character, and she needs to realize it's the Thrillbilly stage, not hers. So a woman should be seen and not heard. You know what I'm saying? She just needs to stay there, and she just needs to mind her business. And if she can do that, I'll let her keep handling the books. I'll let her keep cooking my beans back home. Other than that, she just needs to be staying put.
That sounds cool. And for somebody like you who did play in a band, we could debate if it's a singer or a frontman or what have you, but Billy Corgan is the owner and the main guy in charge of the NWA. How cool is it to work for somebody who has some of that same backbone, some of that same backstory as yourself, obviously on a massive scale with the Smashing Pumpkins?
Well, I mean, we were played on the same radio station, so you can say it's an equivalent scale. You know,
there you go.
I was also an equal. You know, that's one of the reasons why we get along so much, is because I understand how it is being a rock star. He understands how it is being a rock star. And I'll say the debate is closed on whether or not you're a front man or a singer, because we've had this conversation, me and Corgan. He can do this, like he hits that high note, and he's like, as long as I can do that, I can go out and sing. I can't even come close to hitting that note. So I'm not a singer. I'm a front man. But that's because I was the entertaining one. And I can do Rebel Yell by Billy Idol better than anyone in karaoke, though. So there's that.
Yeah, I might be older than you, so I'll say, but it's kind of like the David Lee Roth versus Sammy Hagar debate.
100%.
David Lee Roth is the front man, and Sammy was a better singer. But
no, I agree completely. It's like Jim Morrison and all Jim Morrison, great front man.
Yeah.
Not the best singer, but you don't need to be the best singer.
There you go.
Absolutely. You just need to be entertaining and rock people's faces off.
Absolutely. And like I said, you're a throwback kind of guy, and the NWA still, it's progressed a little bit since it first started with the Powerr on YouTube initially, but you guys still definitely have that nostalgic vibe to you. You have that 6:05 on a Saturday afternoon vibe to the way the program is presented. Do you love that? Do you think that's a necessity for the NWA to keep in terms of its vibe and feeling?
In terms of its vibe and feeling, yeah, I think that's one of the things that sets us apart. If you try and keep doing, we don't have, like, no one has the budget of a WWE. That's just, and what they do, and they do it well, is they take every single venue and every single place they go to, and they make it look the exact same. Because they have the money, they have the ability to basically change every single venue to look exactly. But hell, their best looking show they did here recently was in Puerto Rico, because there was too many damn people in there for them to set up everything. So it was just the aisleway and just the crowd. And so I think that's one of the things, like, for us to step up to the next level is just embracing how these buildings feel and how the buildings look, because we do come to a lot of cool cities and cool places, and it's just finding the cool venues in those places that really, like, you know, find a building that looks like Chicago, that feels like Chicago, and show that on TV. Same with the South, man. Like, besides a gymnasium, because half the times these big old shows we do in the South with Joe Kazana Promotions, I think it was this Friday, we just brought 1,000 people into Coalfield, which that town's basically 1,000 people the entire town. But it was like, you know, a gymnasium. So it's just finding places that feel like that old, like the World of Sport had that World of Sport feel. You knew you were in the sportatorium when you were watching that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, you guys wrestled at the Chase. I mean, that's what a fantastic venue that is. And to kind of see that, you know, 40 years on and realize that's the same grounds that you saw Harley Race wrestle in, and Ted, a very young Ted DiBiase, a lot of guys like that. There you go. Okay, well, let's see here. One of the things that we've seen you feud with in 2023 so far has been EC3, who's challenging for the world title. First of all, what's your thoughts on your work both with and against EC3? You
know, EC3 is one of those guys who's very he manipulates people a lot. That's his whole deal, is he's trying to play these mind games. And he was able to pull a couple fast ones on me during our national title match. So I have no doubt in my mind that he can handle Tyrus. But the fact of the matter is this: it should be me in there with Tyrus instead of EC3, because I had his ass on the ropes on multiple occasions. If it wasn't for his manipulating a soft-minded woman like Pollo Del Mar, I would have been your national champion, and I could have traded in that title for it. So good for him, good for him getting a shot at the world title. But I just want him to know, as soon as he gets that belt, there's a target on his ass, and there's a missile heading for it called the Thrillbilly, baby.
There you go. Now, Tyrus is a guy who gets a lot of attention because of Gutfeld and all that other good stuff. He's kind of made it even more exciting heading into NWA 75. Kind of seems like he's putting the career on the line against EC3. So you, as a guy on the card who's definitely eyeing the big prize, what is your thoughts heading into that match? Does it matter to you who wins?
And in terms of personally, who's it matter who wins? I think Tyrus, he wouldn't be putting his career on the line unless he thinks he has this thing in the bag. Because I've met him, I've met his wife. They're very business-minded people, and he makes all that money on Fox News. You know what I'm saying? If he really wanted to do it, you know what? Put me in there, and I'll take a spot on Fox News too.
Actually, that might be really interesting.
That's what I'm saying. I'd change that thing up real quick. People would have no idea what's happening.
There you go. All right, and kind of a layup as a second to last question is kind of like your ultimate career aspirations. Do you have a match in mind that you definitely want to have both within the NWA and maybe, do you have that dream WrestleMania moment in mind if you ever get to the WWE or anything like that?
I want to defend the NWA World Heavyweight Championship at Wrestle Kingdom in the main event.
That's a heck of a...
It's
I didn't expect you to say Wrestle Kingdom. That's amazing.
Oh, no, yeah, dude. Being as big of a Terry Gordy and Terry Funk mark, do you not think that I would say Japan?
I love that idea. That's perfect, actually. And the final question for you, again, another layup. Final thoughts as we head into the big NWA 75th anniversary show just a few weeks from now.
The Diamond Anniversary. 75 years. 3/4 of a century of history. You're about to see it be made when the Thrillbilly Silas Mason defeats two of the biggest, baddest men in the NWA in Credits and Odinson. Here's the issue, though. They ain't the Thrillbilly. So I'm bigger, I'm badder. And NWA 75, St. Louis, Missouri, I'm going to prove that I'm better.
I can't thank you enough for taking the time to do this. Hey, before I let you go, do you mind if I ask for one last favor from you?
What do you need?
You probably know what I'm going to ask, but do you mind if I ask for a station ID? Just saying this is Thrillbilly Silas, and you're listening to Wrestling Epicenter.
All right. You ready?
I'm ready.
This is the Thrillbilly Silas Mason, and you are listening to Wrestling Epicenter, Daddy.
I love it. Thanks so much, man. I'm looking forward to seeing this movie, too, by the way. Not just the wrestling event, but the Iron Claw. That looks like it's going to be a blast for somebody like me who strangely grew up in the shadows of New York City, and yet almost everybody I talk to on Facebook wrestled in the Sportatorium. So it's kind of a weird mixture.
December 22nd, that's when it's coming out.
Should be a blast. All right, man. Well, I thank you so much for taking the time, and I'll let you know when I get this up online.
Awesome. Take care of yourself, brother.
This is Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio. Oh, rush.
Featuring the interactive interview.
Interactive interview. Interactive interview. Interactive interview. Interactive interview. Interactive interview. Interactive interview. Oh, yeah.
Formerly The Blaze.
The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze rock.
Yo, Maniacs, so what you gonna do when the Blaze of Maniacs runs wild on you?
On WrestlingEpicenter.com.
Wrestling Epicenter.
Wrestling
Epicenter. Wrestling
Epicenter.
Wrestling Epicenter.
Wrestling Epicenter. The Wrestling Epicenter. Don't get off.
And now we shamelessly name drop from our history.
The Wrestling Epicenter would like to apologize for the following.
All right, everybody. Viva la raza. Viva la raza.
Hey, y'all.
Hello, ladies.
Hey guys, we had a lovely conversation. First lady, absolutely. Oh, look at me. She's so kooky. Hi. Be there. Where else? Interactive Wrestling Radio. Wrestling Epicenter. Oh my God, you win! Wow, being interactive.
Whoa! I just got some noise. I was gonna shoot him. Yeah, I almost missed my pants. Breaking neck. I got 2 words for you. I've heard a lot about you guys. Let's go. I see my language. You're gonna go to the shop. I see him now. We're into the many.
No nerves.
That was great. It's gonna be cool. Woo! What it's all about. The purest point of view. The living legend. Arrogant.
You're listening to me.
Instead of statement, I'm talking to you. Charisma.
So lonely without you.
Yeah.
In the land of extreme.
Testify. Nevermore. Interactive interview. I'm not just the best. Interactive interview with a plastic
You
head.
earned the right.
Nobody. You better keep listening. Thank you very much. Controversy creates cash. Professional wrestling.
Made in the USA, baby.
Memphis wrestling. The guy on fire. I'm not
We were sexy.
What a show.
The one and only.
Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Wrestling
Epicenter. Interactive interview. We took care of the business. This isn't ballet. We are huge with this whole. You're where it's at. You better recognize who's the best. Make sure to tune in each and every week. I'll come out of your computer. Knock down your door and turn it on for you. Or else I'm going to kick your stinking teeth in. And that's the bottom line.
Have a nice day.
It's showtime!
Don't forget to like and subscribe.